Welcome to Business 798, your capstone course for the MS program. Part of what we're doing in the capstone course is centered around a business simulation from CapSim. The screen you're looking at right now is the registration screen, and hopefully all of you have had the opportunity to follow the email instructions or the announcement instructions of how to register. You will take your user ID and password information in the register to get started and pay the fee for the simulation as well as the CapSim exam. Once you're registered, you should see a page similar to this. Now, keep in mind that I'm registered as the instructor, so my screens may vary just slightly from what you're seeing. Your dashboard will have a number of things: the industry conditions report that you can see here and the introductory material. As recommended in the email and the pre-course work instructions, it's highly encouraged that you take the time to go through this introductory material. The introductory video will give you some background. The online guide is great, but the PDF guide is even more important. The industry conditions report will help you understand how the simulation works and the industry moves. So this material will walk you through the pieces that you need to be successful in this simulation. Now, the idea with the simulation is to give you the opportunity to be the CFO or the CEO and making those strategic decisions that need to happen, seeing the interrelationship of decisions throughout the organization, and understanding how to assess through the Capstone Courier what those conditions are, what's changing, what competitors are doing. So it's a multifaceted simulation that will hopefully enhance your wrapping up experience, getting you ready to launch into either a new career or hopefully being promoted or a shift in career as you aspire to the next step. The Capstone Courier is something that will be available for each round. It is similar to a newspaper report. It reports on things for the industry as a whole as well as for each company. So you're encouraged to become real familiar with that. After completing the introductory material, we will walk through a couple of practice rounds. Again, those instructions will be on Blackboard. You can obviously email or phone questions to Amy or myself at any time. We're always available for that. You'll work in teams to complete 2 practice rounds so that you get a feel for the game. And then by Module 2, we're going to jump right into competitive rounds. And we'll be doing 6 total competitive rounds. Industry conditions will change somewhat throughout the rounds. You will be adding some modules as we go along for HR and TQM, so be alert to those. And we will talk about some of those things as we go along. The bulk of what you're going to do then as a team is to go to the decision area for Capstone. You can do it as a downloaded spreadsheet, but you'll probably find it's easier to just launch the web application and complete the work through there. Within the web application, you have a number of tools. There's a coach available at any point. You can save your decisions, and I encourage you to save them periodically as you go along. But the decision button is where you're going to spend a good chunk of your time. You're basically making decisions around 4 areas. The HR piece will come in after round 2, but you're going to make research and development decisions, marketing, production, and finance decisions for each round. The research and development decisions, you'll see the green areas are the areas that you can impact. So what you're trying to do is using the perceptual map and the tools that you've learned in the introductory materials, determine what your competitive strategy is, where you want to position your company, and based on that, then where will your products show up on the perceptual map? Where do you want to position them? Are you trying to compete on cost, or are you trying to compete on performance? So use those tools. You'll notice that when I hover over things, there are coaching tips that come up to remind you. So in addition to the introductory materials and the guide that you have these applicable resources available at any point. Anywhere you see the little chevrons, you can also click to get more information. So use those tools as well. You'll see that there's a number of them here. So you can use any of those to guide your decisions. The marketing decisions then are based on exactly what it sounds like. How do you want to promo and offer your sales budget? Notice again with the chevrons, it will tell you what is impacted by that particular budget because they each have a different impact. Your pricing, again, there's guides in the introductory material in terms of what's a reasonable level to flex the price. Remember, this is a game and there are certain parameters, so you don't have complete control, but much like in an industry, you're constrained by the board of directors or what the industry parameters are. The sales forecast is generally best if that is your worst case scenario so that you don't overproduce. Again, a lot of guidance there is in the introductory materials. Contribution margin is a good guiding factor to see where your products are aligning, and those are things that you should be familiar with from your prior coursework. Again, the green areas are areas you can implement. There are things that are preloaded, as you saw in both areas so far, but you have the options to change any of those. Don't necessarily go with what's in here preloaded because that will not be optimal performance. You've got to think through what your competitive strategy is and then pay attention to the analysis of your competitors and so forth. The production area then takes your sales forecast and loads it based on what you're inputting, and then your production would be potentially your best case scenario because you want to make sure that you don't stock out, but you don't want to have excess inventory either because then there's costs associated with that. Remember, you're constrained by your capacity, so you want to make sure that you're utilizing your capacity efficiently and effectively so you can buy or sell capacity in this line. And then automation, as described again in the introductory materials, will help you decide how far you want to go automated versus labor and the cost benefits to doing that. The financing then is obviously where you're going to make your decisions for long-term and short-term financing. You want to be in a position where you are not getting loans from what's called Big Al. As you can see right now, it's projected to have a negative cash balance. If you have a negative cash balance, the game automatically lends you funds from Big Al at an exorbitant rate. So the goal is to try to avoid that. As you're making the decision, you can go to your pro formas at any time and see how your decisions are impacting it. Notice here right now cash is zero, so that would be a concern. I'd want to adjust my financing. I can also look at my income statement and see where things are positioned currently. If I tweak things and I look back here, how does it change? Now remember, these are pro formas based on what your team is doing. It does not take into account what your competitors are doing or what the industry is actually going to do. So it's a planning tool, but it may not match exactly where you're going to end up. Throughout the course, we're also going to emphasize the balanced scorecard. That is how ultimately in the end exam, the CompExam exam, you're going to be scored. It also is a great way to evaluate your company, as you've talked about in prior coursework as well. So pay attention to your balanced scorecard performance, and we'll continue to come back to there. The reports then is the Capstone Courier, the different pages that you can access of the Capstone Courier that will give you information. So right now for round 1, you have the Courier saying, okay, at the end of round 0, here's where the industry stands. Go now and make projections and make your plans for round 1 or year 1. Notice at round 0, everybody has equal ground. Then making the decisions there from there forward will put everyone into a different category. And you can see here the number of different kinds of reports that you can get to guide your decisions. Again, if you have questions at any time, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we look forward to the excitement that's created as you guide your company into a successful future.